Benue Governor Samuel is alleging that the All Progressives Congress scientifically rigged last month's general election in the state.
Well, the governor lost the Benue Northwest senatorial poll to APC's Titus Zam. Otom says the election was clinically and electronically rigged. He says that his party has concluded plans to challenge the outcome.
I cannot understand, just like you have expressed here. I was surprised when I saw the result. But I want to assure you that you have not seen the end of that result yet. By the grace of God, I will reclaim my mandate because it was stolen. So there is no cause for alarm. And I look forward that on the 18th Saturday, we are going to be reunited.
All right, let's bring in Arise Director of News and Politics Editor Sumner Sambo for more on these stories. Sumner, good to see you as always. Let's start from the bottom. Autumn claims elections were rigged electronically and in every way possible. Let's start from there.
Well, the allegations of rigging in almost every political party. I mean, even the governing APC that won that particular seat says it could have won more votes than it got, and so it's left for those who are making these allegations to actually provide the proof. There is a trail that can be traced electronically.
Right.
If you're proving that this was scientifically and electronically rigged, then of course, I mean, it will be much more easier for you to be able to actually trail that. So, yes, as a sitting governor, he has a lot of access to information, both security information, electronic information. And now, if he's coming out to talk about this process being tampered with, he has also the right to ask INEC, his lawyers, to demand that INEC provide the details of the election as a candidate that participated in the election. And from there, he will now use it to file a petition before the Election Petitions Tribunal. So, apart from whipping sentiments here and there, we should also understand that this is a process. It's not just good enough for you to say the process was rigged and all of that. Or if I may borrow the Second Republic time, it was super rigged and all of that. Now we are saying it was electronically and scientifically rigged. Well, if it's done that way, then there will be a trail. So it's left for some of these people to allow emotions to go down at the moment so that we don't heighten tension unnecessarily, and then channel some of these things to the rightful authority. And the rightful authority right now is the Election Petitions Tribunal. And of course, as a sitting governor, he understands that if he has very good lawyers, they could help him push his case further.
And another one here is a new word in our political lexicon from the president-elect. He calls this a government of competence, as against what a lot of people had known as government of national unity.
Yeah.
So speak to us on what you think may be going through the mind of the incoming government of President-elect Bola Tinubu.
Yeah, I mean, saying he would have a government of national, he had rather prefer a government of national competence than government of national unity. I think that's what we've always been looking for. Let's be very frank and sincere to ourselves.
Right.
A government that doesn't look at the political intrigues that makes people to get into government and they practically don't know what they're doing. Look at President Buhari's government. How many ministers can you name, even as a journalist? Sometimes people just go there and it's just a handful of people that we see. So the president-elect is right to actually say, look, the idea of government of national unity, while it's something that within the circumstance makes sense, but nonetheless, I would go for competence. Now, he wouldn't naturally and politically want to mention anything like government of national unity because he's the runner-up to the election. Atiku Abubakar was the one who started this idea of government of national unity if he wins. So if the APC's Bola Tinubu embraces the idea of a government of national unity, the PDP will accuse him of stealing their idea.
Right.
So the best thing is for him to have his own ideas. And so that is what he has said now. But with the composition of our federal system and presidential system that we are running at the moment, the system we are practicing encourages winner takes all. It doesn't give room, unlike parliamentary system where, you know, there's always that fusion, you can always bring people from the other party at the National Assembly and all of that. This doesn't encourage. Right from 1979, when we started practicing the presidential system of government, it's one that encourages the winner to just grab every position. And so there is this call because of the closeness, Ngozi, of the three candidates. But I would say that it is not even in the interest of the opposition for them to get into this government. If they could believe that the government or the governing party rigged its way to power, why would you want to identify with something that you didn't believe passed through the right process, as Peter Obi is telling us? So even if they had made that suggestion, I would have said that the opposition shouldn't go into the government. They should allow the APC to run its government if the courts allow it, so that if it goes wrong, they won't share part of the blame. Because if they go into a government of national unity, the tendency is that if the Bola Tinubu government loses grip of control, the accusation will be spread all around.
Well, if the Bola Tinubu administration succeeds, it means Nigeria succeeds. I mean, whether you know, there's a government of national unity.
That's why he stated it clearly there.
How tough a job will it be for Tinubu to actually pick this government of national excellence? So,
competence. Well, Tinubu, actually, if you to be very fair to him, he's been very good in picking people. And there's a lot of talk within the political circle right now that we need Nigerians, not necessarily technocrats, because we've tried that before. I mean, when Goodluck Jonathan and then Obasanjo came in 2003 and then 2011, we've tried a lot of technocrats who got us enmeshed in all sort of debts and all sort of MOUs that they end up, you know, pushing us further than we have wanted to. But a government of competence will be people who are patriotic, who see Nigeria first before their pockets.
Regardless of their party?
Yes, because we've brought people who are so-called technocrats. At the end of the day, they perform worse than politicians. We've also brought people who are politicians, and they kept thinking about the next elections rather than governing the people. We must understand that if we're talking about competence this time around, is the competence that can take us away from the 133 million poor people. Can we see, for example, the next administration thinking of taking our budget to about $1 trillion, $1 trillion economy? Can we see that the number of out-of-school children is drastically reduced
from the current
now?
20
Can
million?
we see that you know, a lot of people no longer go to bed hungry in this country despite our rich resources? And can we have a government that de-emphasizes our oil economy and then focuses on how to create a new economy away from all of this? This is the only way we can use to assess if indeed the next administration is putting together a cabinet of competent people or not. But we've heard all of this rhetoric before, and then at the end of the day, it didn't work out very well. And it may surprise you to know that some of the military governments we tend to abhor even had more competent people than some of the democratic governments we put in place.
You know, speaking of which, now talking about cabinet, let's quickly see if you can actually give us a bird's eye view of what we expect to see with the incoming administration of Bola Tinubu, specifically looking at finance, economy, and perhaps if he's going to toe the line of having a National Economic Council.
Let's start with the issues of the size of government. Suleiman and Ngozi here. We need a lean government. This is no longer the time for 42 ministers, even the 36 ministers. If it's possible, we should reduce that. But of course, that is constitutional. We won't be able to do that. But can we just stay at 36 and then see how we can also reduce the number of people that we have as advisors at the presidential villa? Run a very lean government at the center and then focus on the subnationals. A lot of Nigerians are now putting attention on the state governments. Now, can this new government that will be coming in also devolve some powers based on the constitutional review that we've had? If the process is completed before Buhari goes out of power, we are able to do that. And then let's have a cabinet whereby the focus, the central focus will be on the people and not politicians and not on the big businessmen, because you already seen them coalescing close to the president-elect. Everybody's going for the big deals.
That's right.
Cutting the big deals, while the Nigerian people may not end up getting the benefits of electing a new government.
Sumner, before we let you go, CSOs have been calling on INEC to improve on its, performance in the February 25th, presidential election. And then again, you just made a point about the importance of the state elections. That cannot be overemphasized, can it?
Yes, because we've always been focusing more on the federal government. There are a lot of state governors that have just been left to their whims and caprices without necessarily putting them under the same pressure that we put our federal government. Look, as we go into these elections, we must understand that the state legislatures are as important as the state governors, and these two are as important as the National Assembly and, of course, the federal government itself. As we go into this election, we must pay attention to INEC and its officials. INEC officials are public officials that should be held to, number one, the Official Secrecy Act that they actually swear to. Because you see people behaving as if they do not owe the Nigerian people, answers. Now, these beavers, for example, you have said that it's going to come around and clear the electoral mess that we've had before. Why does it now look like beavers is complicating issues for the average Nigerian?
Very good
when
point.
We are seeing the presidential election results being delayed in terms of what is coming up, and then the National Assembly elections are coming up faster. People owe us an explanation, because we spent a lot of our money, close to 400 billion naira investing in elections. I mean, the next elections, we should be thinking of reducing INEC's budget. If INEC cannot perform very well, let's unbundle INEC and make sure that, we hold INEC to accountable. The CSOs are right. INEC cannot be earning these monies and then just sleeping. Right. They are supposed to be independent from the government and all of that. And if they are independent, then the most important thing we should do now is that when we're entering into these elections, for example, logistics, we mustn't see the governing parties having logistics being delivered to their areas of strength, while the opposition parties are not being given, logistics. And you see logistics coming in around 11 a.m., 12 p.m. in the strongholds of the opposition. Meanwhile, in the strongholds of the governing parties, you see elections starting around 8 a.m. and 8:30. That process itself is rigged. And INEC should be questioned from that perspective. So if we don't get the logistics right, that in itself is a process of rigging against those who may not have all the monies or the political power to fight on election day.
Which Governor Tom refers to
it's a fine place for us to leave it. We'll stay on this as we go into the elections across some states that will be having elections on March 18. Many thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you very much, as always.
Sumner Sambo.